This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. Ever feel like you're being pushed or pulled in more directions than you can even begin to process? When life demands more than you can give at work, in your relationship, or at home, Talkspace can help. Talkspace provides convenient online access to therapy, psychiatry, and mental health support. Just answer a few questions online and Talkspace will match you with a licensed provider in less than 2 days, with some even offering same-day appointments. Chat with a therapist over live video, audio, or messaging so you can get mental health support that fits your lifestyle and schedule. No taking time off work, no commuting to an office, and no waiting room. Just support that meets you right where you are. Best of all, Talkspace is covered by most major insurance plans with an average copay of $15. Get space when you need it with Talkspace. And now you can get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com. That's Talkspace.com.
Welcome back to Higher Health with Dr. Elizabeth Rogers. I am honored and thrilled to bring you this final podcast episode of 2024 and to introduce you to our extraordinary guest for this episode, Susan Bratton, who has quickly become known as our new resident Sexpert here on the Higher Health Show. Susan's first visit with us today will offer you a complete and total shift in perspective on what sex and intimacy really are and what they're really all about. As you'll learn, intimacy isn't just about sex, and sex isn't all there is. Susan will talk to us about myths and misconceptions, and she will blow your mind with facts you likely don't know. Like, you can have how many kinds of orgasms? You'll learn what you need for optimal arousal and meaningful, healthy intimacy. You will see how intimacy, just like health, is multifactorial and multidimensional, and it is all about connection. And Susan and I aim in this episode to provide a safe space of love for you to feel comfortable exploring this topic with us. This show isn't about just telling you that sex is good for you and why. We are going deeper than the surface, as we always do. Get ready for an awesome episode jam-packed with truth, empowering education, and loads of practical tips, tricks, and resources for you. Now, let me tell you just a little bit about our extraordinary guest today. Susan Bratton, known as the intimacy expert to millions, is a champion and advocate for all those who desire intimacy and passion their whole life long. She's created hundreds of techniques that transform, quote, having sex into making love, and is the world's most well-respected sexual biohacker. And she is here today just for us. Susan is a co-founder and CEO of 2 companies. One is Personal Life Media, Inc., a publisher of the Better Lover brand of heart-connected lovemaking techniques and bedroom communication skills and sexual regenerative therapies. And the 20 LLC, a manufacturer of organic and botanical supplements that enhance sexual vitality. Flow is a nitric oxide booster for better blood flow that she will mention in today's episode. Susan is an active and caring spokesperson for Gains Wave and FemaWave and the Joel Kaplan Company, 3 sexual biohacking regenerative therapies for increasing one's, quote, sex span to achieve ageless sexuality. She is a best-selling author and publisher of 44 books and programs, including Sexual Soulmates, Relationship Magic, Revive Her Drive, Ravish Him, Steamy Sexy Ed, Passion Patch, Hormone Balancing, and Hot to Trot. Susan's superpower is her courage. She takes a lion-hearted stand for our human right to pleasurable connection, and we'll open up by talking about exactly that kind of energy today. Susan has the willingness to get nerdy about science and anatomy and very detailed about lovemaking skills so everyone can learn to achieve the pleasure they deserve. And get ready, because we will be getting nerdy today. She has appeared on The Today Show, CNBC, Sex with Emily, Shameless Sex, and in GQ. And without further ado, I give you today's episode. Welcome to Higher Health, the podcast that elevates your understanding of health beyond the conventional into a realm where mind, body, and spirit align. If you're ready to rise above the noise of traditional health approaches and connect deeply with your inner wisdom, you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Rogers, a heart-centered, Harvard-trained epidemiologist, researcher, medical intuitive, and transformational health and longevity expert. In this space, we explore the profound journey of health and well-being, where every choice aligns with your highest self. Together, we'll unlock the true essence of being healthy, empowered, and whole. Susan, I am so honored and grateful that you're here with us today on Higher Health with Dr. Elizabeth Rogers. As you know, our listeners here are already outside of the box and dying to hear about this topic of sexual and intimate health, which this is the first intentional conversation we have ever had on this show, and it surely won't be the last on this topic. So I'm hoping that after today, you'll come back and just be our resident expert on everything sexual and intimate health related.
Well, I wish that your listeners could see the giant smile that I have on my face.
Me too.
Looking at your beautiful face and how excited we are to do this segment together. And I'm just thrilled to be here with you. You are so precious, so special. You have such a warm heart. And we're going to dive into some areas that what I have found is that when I speak about people's intimate pleasure and connection, that they always end up at the end of the conversation saying, it was really not as bad as I thought it would be to talk about this. And Elizabeth is like, I was a little bit nervous. I was a little bit nervous when you showed up, but now you just made me feel so comfortable. And I think that a part of having the conversations around sexuality or being in conversation around sexuality, it takes some courage, but the kind of courage that it takes is being lion-hearted. It's the courage of a lioness or a lion. They have a way of being courageous that is loving and kind. And that's what lion-hearted means, that kind of courage. And so for your listeners tuning in today to hear what we have to say, they're going to be in their loving heart with us. We're holding them in our heart to carry them into more possibility. I think this is going to be a very inspirational experience for all of us. That's the joy that we're going to co-create today together about why intimacy is so important and how come we don't have more of it. What are all of these obstacles, these roadblocks to having what we think we want? And why is what we think we want just the tip of the iceberg to what is even possible? I want to surface some more of that iceberg in this conversation and talk about what our sexuality can really do to serve us in this life.
I love this, and I know our listeners are going to be obsessed with this. This is a perspective I don't feel like I've ever heard anyone in your realm of expertise take on this. And it's so incredibly important. And you're speaking already straight to the hearts of this show, of our listeners, of myself, because you already created what this show is all about, which is a safe space of love.
Yes.
And once we have that resonance and frequency flowing here, then we can open up our hearts to talk about anything, even some of these kinds of topics that I think as we grew up throughout our lifetimes on planet Earth were, started to get a little sticky, have some uncomfortable connotations, make us question ourselves, our own capabilities, our own enoughness. And I think all of these themes connect so deeply in every way possible to us and our ability to just be optimally healthy and well. Susan, I'd love to ask you to start us off entering into this conversation. Why even is healthy love critical to our overall well-being, especially as it relates to our longevity? Why do our listeners even need to care about this conversation?
Well, it's interesting. There's a list of benefits that having good sex gives us. But if I talk about sex, people automatically think intercourse.
Yes.
Sex equals intercourse in our language. And the problem with that is that for most women and some men, and I want to preface this conversation by saying that I respect everybody's personal self-expression of their individuality, and that when you're dealing with sexuality, you're dealing with a bell curve, and there's a cluster of people in the middle, but there are a lot of edge cases. And that what I'm going to do today with you, Dr. Elizabeth, is I'm going to speak to the big bell curve in the middle, but I am including everyone in the conversation.
Absolutely.
And that sexuality is a combination of nature and nurture. So it's everything from our genetics and our parenting and our belief structures and our society and our culture and our education, or lack thereof, frankly. It's so many things. It's about the sleep that we've gotten, whether we've eaten well, the level of stress we're under. It is multifactorial in the multifactorial of multifactorialness, our sexuality.
Yes, it is.
It is a ball of yarn knotted up. And I want to say that when I say sex, I don't mean intercourse. So I like to use the word intimacy a lot because it gets away from this pressure that especially women feel, but many men do too now, that they are under to have sex, which means intercourse. So if I say to you, and this is true, studies show, many longitudinal studies from countries around the world show that the people who have regular, and they say sex, but I say intimacy, regular intimacy, because I want to expand the word to mean holding and being held, kissing, full body touch, massage, stroking our hair, words of affirmation and encouragement and adoration and respect, and pillow talk, to oral pleasuring, manual pleasuring, intercourse, role play, any of the things that are in the big sphere of that is also the word we use for sex. We've ended up living in a world where there's been some repression around sexuality that has said sex is for procreation only, so the only thing that matters is intercourse. When in reality, especially now in our highly stressed world, we need more than ever loving touch, holding and being held, oxytocin generation. My eyelids need to be kissed on a regular basis. These are things we need. And so that's sex too. So now when I circle back to many studies across the world show that I'm going to use the word intimacy instead of intercourse, right? That people who have closeness, pleasure, because the other thing that I stand for that a lot of sexperts and doctors don't is orgasm. Because orgasms are learned skills. They're not something you know how to do. They're something you learn how to do. And the body can have 20 kinds of orgasms. And I'm not talking about the female body. I'm not talking about the estrogen dominant vulva owner. Two sciencey girls on a podcast. This is going to be the word.
Nerding out.
Or a testosterone dominant penis owner. What I'm really talking about here is that we need to have the kind of pleasure that creates orgasmic experiences, because that's actually where most of the benefits of intimacy come from. But you can get to orgasm in so many different ways over 20 days for both the penis owning and the vulva owning body, man and woman. I'm just going to say man and woman here. And most of the world is a man and a woman in a pair bond. And so I'm speaking to that big bell curve. So that's the language I'm going to use, knowing that I've also said I'm inclusive to all. So guys can have 20 kinds of orgasms. Yes, they can. Women can have
Wow.
20 kinds of, yes, they can. Are they all learned? Yes, they are. Are they
Wow.
what does the hormone cascade, the release of neurotransmitters, the generation of oxytocin, the nervous system reboot, the release, the improvement of immune function, the management of IGF-1, the release of natural killer cells, which eat up your senescent and cancerous cells, so you have more mitochondrial function to have more energy to live a longer life? Does it improve your skin tone and texture? Does it make your eyes clearer? Does it give you
Yes.
glossy fur? Yes, it gives you glossy fur. Your hair looks shinier. Why does it do that? Through the oxytocin, interestingly enough. Oxytocin impacts things like
Mm.
skin and hair. So how does it help with your gut function? How does it help with heart
Yes.
regulation? How does it help with vascularization? Does it help with nerve sensation? It helps with all of those things. It's okay if you rub two sticks together and have connection. It's even better when you rub two sticks together and have fire.
Yes.
Fire. Passion. Passion fuels your creativity. It imbues you with a lust for life. Your libido and your health are two sides of the same coin. If you feel like your libido is low, you're probably not feeling well. When you begin to feel well by addressing your health issues, your libido comes back. It's not just a dip in your estrogen or your testosterone or a loss of nitric oxide production giving you erectile dysfunction. And by the way, we women have as much erectile tissue in our female urogenital system as our male-bodied partners have in their penis.
Really?
Our men, if you think about their penises,
Yeah.
they're 50%, about approximately 50% of it sticks out of his body from his abdomen out. That's the
Right.
part you see. That's the outie. But he's got as much tissue that goes in and down toward his testicles in the buried part of his shaft in his body. And if
Really?
you think about that like a banana,
Right.
the whole thing inside there, just like if you peeled the skin
Yes.
off of the fruit of a banana, the fruit is most of a banana. The most of the penis is erectile tissue. If
Yeah.
I took that out and put it in your hand, that banana would cover your hand.
Mm-hmm.
If I hold open my other hand and put all the tissue in your vulva, my vulva, a
Yeah.
female-bodied vulva, it is the same amount. Put them on a scale, they'd weigh the same.
Wow.
So what's so interesting is that you take the banana and you just curve it up like a teardrop. And that's, if I peeled off the cover of our vulva, took the skin off and showed you what's in there, it's the teardrop shaped erectile tissue. It's the tip of the clitoris, the shaft, the crura, the arms, the
Yes.
vestibular bulbs, the legs that are under the pubic hair, the perineal sponge below the vagina, above the rectum, the urethral sponge, which people call a G-spot, but it's a long tube like a pool noodle the kids whack each other with in the pool. That's our
Really?
urethral sponge. It's not a spot. And that wraps the vaginal cavern, which is not a canal. It's a flat little pocket until you put something in it and it expands. And all of that tissue has the same amount of erectile need to be filled with blood as our male-bodied partners. But because it's not visible, and because there's not enough health research on women,
Yeah.
and because women's sexuality
Mhm.
is subjugated to the patriarchal culture of our world,
Yeah. Yep.
the issue is that female erectile function is as important as male erectile function, but gets no airtime.
Wow.
And we need that because here's how pleasure works. So I've already told you there's 20 kinds of orgasms. I've already told you that they are all learned skills. So anybody listening right now who's never had an orgasm, never had an orgasm from intercourse, never had a G-spot orgasm, or never had a vaginal or a cervical orgasm, or has never had a nipple-gasm or
Yes.
a throat-gasm. The 20 kinds of orgasms are locations to touch, like I just named, pleasure zones, erogenous zones.
Yes.
But there are also techniques to use. expanded orgasm practice, male multiple full energy body orgasms, erotic hypnosis, having an orgasm without touching, a touchless orgasm. These are techniques that elicit orgasmic response. And then objects of desire, which are pleasure tools, everything for anything, any kind of pleasure tool. It could be, candle wax, not the kind from an actual paraffin candle, but the kind
Right.
that's like low heat temperature that is like a sensation play, or,
Yes.
sex furniture or anything like that. Lingerie that turns you on. These
Yeah.
are all things that can move you to more orgasmic release and pleasure.
Wow.
So when I say that I want you to have great intimate connection, I would like you to have orgasms. I'd like you to have so many orgasms. And here's the neat thing about orgasms. They're very easy to learn because our body's operating systems all work the same. And so if you know the inputs, what to touch and how, you'll have orgasms. The thing is that that's what I've been doing for the last 2 decades is I've been writing passionate lovemaking techniques that transform that friction into connection, heart connected, conscious, passionate lovemaking focused on mutually orgasmically satisfying intimacy. And I just write the steps. So one of the number one things that women struggle with is something my friend Dr. Lori Mintz talks about, the orgasm gap. How do you cross that gasm chasm? How do you have an orgasm from intercourse if you've never had one?
Yes.
Very easy. Very easy.
Really?
You just have to know what to do. And the thing is that, and I'm going to tell you, don't worry. And what's interesting is that everything we see in movies, everything we see in pornography, it's male gaze focused. And
Yes.
it is not what is going to help a woman have an orgasm.
Even if you think, Susan, about shows that traditionally as women, we've grown up to love, like Sex and the City, perfect example, always heading in that direction of it's just about men.
Yeah. So at orgasmicintercourse.com, I have the 10 steps to having incredibly mutually satisfying orgasmic intercourse. There are things that she can do and things that he can do and things that they can do. So
this is incredible.
Instead of diving into that, I can always come back and we can talk about that. But instead of diving into
that another show,
I drop a link. Then the people who are like, wow, I'd really like to give my wife orgasms from intercourse, or I'd really like to have orgasms from intercourse with my boyfriend. Then you can just go there and read the 10 steps. And if you have any questions, when you get those 10 steps, you'll be on my email newsletter. And when you're on my email newsletter, you can reply to any email I send you. And I personally get that so that you can ask me anything about anything. Honestly, it's fine. And I will reply to you. Just so you know that if there's something I say during this conversation where you weren't clear or you have an unanswered question about anything sexually, just feel free to ask me. So that's at orgasmicintercourse.com. So getting that out of the way because we want to keep moving.
Yes. And everyone, that will be in the link for the show notes. So you'll have super easy access to it. So no worries. You just enjoy the rest of our interview knowing that resource is already right there for you.
Yeah, you can just take in the conversation now without worrying. Yeah, so the thing that it shows with long-term intimate pleasure is that people look about 10 years younger than their cohort. They live longer than their cohorts who have given up their intimacy, and they have a happier life. So longer, healthier, and happier life from consistent pleasure and connection. But if I just come on the show and say that, everybody's like, yeah, but we just aren't. We're just not. We're not having. We're not having enough.
Yes,
it's not happening.
We're like, Susan, we know it's important. We would all like to have it today.
Yes.
Could you tell me, but how? Why? How?
Yes, exactly. And
that's the way.
That's what I have to do because otherwise it's like I'm just coming in and I'm telling you should exercise or you should eat well. And it's like, okay, but I'm busy or I'm tired or I'm this or I'm that. Like it's not happening for me.
Exactly.
I'm doing the best I can do.
And it's another one of those things, to your point, just like using movement and food as perfect examples. Just like intimacy, how many of us already know? Like, you're preaching to the choir. We know it's good
Yeah.
for us. We know we should do something different. But now we're going to do something even better, which is tell you more than just go be intimate. It's good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you do that?
Yes.
What mostly happens, there are a couple of things that get in the way. Usually in a relationship. Well, first is that someone doesn't have a relationship. I don't have a partner.
Right.
Okay, but you have yourself and you have a relationship with
Exactly.
yourself, and you can connect with yourself in pleasure. And I highly recommend solo pleasuring. Because
Yes.
if you think about your sexual maturity and your personal maturity, they are two sides of the same coin as well. As you age, you get better at having pleasure and having orgasms and having different kinds of orgasms if you practice and try things. So I like to teach a lot of orgasmic cross training. And I like people to use pleasure tools for that. But not just any pleasure tools, very specific and certain pleasure tools for coupled versus solo pleasuring. There's a lot of junk in the market. It's not body safe. The
Mhm.
motors are crappy. It doesn't feel that good. It's
No.
noisy and loud.
Yes.
So there are some creme de la creme devices, and luckily they don't even cost as much as most people's pairs of one pair of shoes a person would
Oh, this
buy,
is so
which
awesome.
is so nice. You don't need another pair of shoes. You need more orgasms.
That's exactly right. You need to brand that quote right there.
I actually got that from one of my girlfriends.
That is so good.
I thought it was so cute.
I love it.
So I'll give you a perfect example of a really great thing where it's a tool that also really helps you not feel like you have to have intercourse, but that you're starting to have some pleasure together. So I'll get to the toy in just a minute.
Okay.
I'll tell you about them. I'll show you about them, and I'll tell you where to get them. So you're like, what's the
Wow.
link? Don't worry. I never leave you hanging on any of that stuff. It's hard for, and this is going to generalize again, okay, Elizabeth?
Yes. Bell curve, everyone.
But the thing is that it could easily be the opposite. But
Yeah.
I'm just going to use the most common case so you can just see your way through to your own situation.
Of course.
And that is that there's this notion of mismatched libido. Somebody's the high desire partner, somebody's the low desire partner.
Yes.
And that's most often it's the man who wants more sex than the woman. And that's because we've been having sex. Women have been having sex like men rather than the way we need to be made love to, because everything that we see in our culture is oriented toward male arousal patterns and desire.
Yes.
And women love intercourse too, when it's enjoyable for them.
Yeah.
But what happens is that, going back to that banana, he's got a very, very straight shot of erectile tissue. There's 3 tubes in his penis.
Yeah.
And their job is that his blood flows. It's called fast acting hemodynamics. The blood flow, he basically thinks something sexy and he gets an erection if he's healthy, because the blood
Amazing.
flows right into those tubes, because it has to lock off. The endothelial system has to expand, and then it locks and holds the blood in for his erection. So it runs in very quickly. Where all those nooks and crannies that I was talking about with
Yeah.
the female body, the little arms, the legs, the shaft, the
Yeah.
glands, the clit, all these things, the blood seeps in. But the other issue is that it can't start seeping in until we have that letdown, very similar to breastfeeding, where when we sit in that rocker with our baby and we bring the babe to our breast, we go,
Yeah.
and the milk starts to run. I can feel it in my own breasts, and I breastfed 27 years ago. I can feel the flow letting down into my breasts. When you kiss, when you breast pleasure, when you are held, when you get things off your chest, when you reconnect with your partner, when you enter into the lover space with them, you relax because you're with them because you trust them. And they're safe for you. And it's the safety that the female body really needs to let down because we don't walk in the world safely. We're
No, we
estrogen
don't.
dominant, and estrogen is the molecule of safety. It keeps our reticular activation system on high. It makes us judgy. That's why we have body image issues. We judge, we judge, we judge, we judge. The
We
judging
do.
keeps us safe, but it also holds us back. We stay stressed. We got to get out of our head and into our body. And that takes some transition time.
Yeah.
We need our partner to help us get there so we can get the letdown and we can get the blood flowing to our pelvic bowl. Add to the fact that we're mostly nitric oxide deficient, which is what
Right.
makes the blood flow to the pelvic bowl.
Mhm.
We can't eat enough leafy green vegetables and beetroot because our soils are nitrogen depleted.
That's
So
right.
taking a nitric oxide booster is ground zero for your sexual function. It is not your hormones. That's a small part. And where it's a part is that estrogen depletion and testosterone decline. They shrivel up our genitals and they make us less interested in sexuality. They thin the tissue. We have loss of lubrication because the tissue is thinner. We get vaginal laxity. We lose the grip. We lose pelvic musculature. Our contractions diminish. Our vascular system retracts. The nerves then retract. We lose sensation. We have difficulty achieving orgasm. All that stuff can be reversed with nitric oxide and things like acoustic wave treatments. Gaines wave for him and her is a really good, safe way to revitalize that tissue. It's called sexual regenerative therapy. And
Wow.
it stimulates the new tissue growth, which puts more capillaries back, which brings the nerves back, which plumps the tissue up, which makes the erectile function work again, which makes the surface area of the tissue bigger. So when you're would a man have sex if he was flaccid?
No.
Would he have intercourse flaccid? No, it wouldn't
No.
feel good. Why?
No.
Because it's small.
Right.
When it's big, it's got all this surface area that sends massive amounts of signals to his biggest sex organ,
Wow.
which is
His penis.
his brain.
His brain.
Yes, that's why your brain is your biggest sex organ.
Oh
it
my God, I
processes
love
the
this.
signals. The signals get lost when
God, I
you
love
start
this.
atrophying. I know, so
Yes.
nerdy. I knew you would love this.
Oh, I love this.
I know.
love it.
Me too. And when you say it to people, they're like, oh my God, all that makes so much sense. So regenerative
does.
therapies are the way to go.
Wow.
Gainswave is what I recommend. I don't recommend lasers and RFs because they only do intravaginal for women. And Gainswave's acoustic wave. It uses sound waves to stimulate all the new tissue growth. For men, I also recommend penis pumping with a vacuum erection
Really?
device. Oh my God, they work so well.
Do
they
they really-
reverse atrophy 100%.
I've always wondered if that was just a big scam, if it was legit, if they really work.
Legit. Yeah,
Really?
legit. But not all pumps. Most
Yeah.
pumps don't because they're poorly sized. They don't have a gauge. They don't have the right flange system. They're just not real. They're novelty items. So the pump I recommend is at pumpswork.com. I can have one sent to you.
Thank you.
And just remind me after the show and we'll
Okay.
get your address. And I have a guide to penis pumping using vacuum erection devices to reverse atrophy, NDD, and to actually reverse the shrinkage of aging because your penis shrinks, as does your vulva. Everything shrinks.
Right.
I mean, look at your grandma and grandma. If they're still alive, they're tiny.
Yeah.
Their genitals didn't stay the same size. They shrunk too.
Right.
So men starting at 40, women starting at 40, start nitric oxide production and start looking at these regenerative therapies like pumping at home or going for Gainswaves or what have you. And then getting good erectile function helps you do that orgasmic cross training. So you can go from having clitoral orgasms to vaginal orgasms.
Yeah.
When a woman has been with her husband for 10 or 20 years and she's been having intercourse, but it's kind of rushed to intercourse and there
Yes.
isn't a lot of kissing, massage, yoni
Yes.
massage, foreplay, letting down, hugging, holding, warm up, oral, manual massage, it just
All the
goes from
stuff.
like to intercourse. She never
Yeah.
gets what I like to call her lady boner, her lady
Yes,
erection.
which is so important.
She can't feel anything. So why would
No.
she want to have sex if it doesn't feel that good to her? The reason she's not coming to you and asking you to make love to her is that it's no good for her because we don't know all the things I just told you about giving us 20 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on how frequently her genitals get engorged, her nitric oxide levels, the kind of stimulation, the frequency of stimulation, her age, her health, all these things go into how long it's going to take her to achieve the same arousal he can get in a couple of minutes being turned on. Wow. So what I recommend for that to reinvigorate your sex life is to, number one, think to yourself, oh, okay, so we need to do more stuff than just shoot for intercourse as the way to get off. You know, the friction without the connection and the orgasm. Make sure everybody's multi-orgasmic in this scenario. So that's what we need to learn. Okay. All right. So we can learn how to do this. We can follow the steps. We can get orgasmicintercourse.com. And we can learn the steps. We can practice all this stuff. That's the other trick. The other trick is Dossie Eaton and Deborah Anapol taught me this. Deborah wrote the 7 natural laws of love. Ugh. And the number one law that Deborah taught was that if you want to feel more love, love more.
Yes.
You actually feel more love by loving. And the love will come. But Dossie and Deborah taught me this silly little equation. And don't worry if you're no good at math. It's easy. It's a 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
Number 1 is trust and safety. You've got to have that. Number plus novelty and variety equals desire. So what happens in relationships is it's not that great for her, but it's still great for him. And he wants to keep going. And so she does it, but she does it. And she just does it to make him happy. And it's mercy sex. And then she wants it less and less. And she avoids it for sex. And then they move into separate bedrooms because he snores anyway.
Yes.
And, you know, all this stuff happens. And then you live a shorter, less happy, less healthy life. And that's not fair because nobody told you what to do. So this is why I'm here. Yep. And the most important thing is to focus on heart connection, calming down, connecting, and trying new things.
Yes.
So the very first thing that I recommend couples do is think about their sex life as erotic play dates, not as we're going to have sex. Nobody wants to schedule
then all of a sudden
sex.
It's uncomfortable, right? Because you know, it's like there's this thing, okay, and we have to do it. And I have to. All right. And I have to like get comfortable. And then it's this thing you create this whole story around.
Exactly. Yeah. But if you're like, oh, we're going to find my G spot on Thursday night. All right, I'll get the Chinese food. You set up the bedroom, turn on the fireplace, light the candles, put on my sexy playlist, get the stack of towels, get my favorite lube, you know, all this stuff. And when you're going to do something new, it becomes much more fun. Yes. And then you're learning. And you're expanding your orgasmic palette and potential and confidence. And then you go from someone who's still learning just how to receive and be in pleasure and stay in sensation because your mind keeps drifting to someone who's riding the most incredible sensation of your life and having these incredible experiences that make you fall in love with your partner again because all of a sudden you've got all this new relationship energy because you begin as beginners in a new place in your sexuality.
I love this. And I feel like I feel truly like every single person who listens to this show needs and wants to hear this.
Good.
I feel like you're touching on so many of the kinds of conversations we all wish we could comfortably have with our partners and even ourselves, but we just can't get ourselves there. And this is such a gift, Susan, because I feel like one of the other things you are really highlighting and emphasizing for me, and I'm sure our listeners are getting this too if they're not consciously recognizing it yet, is that I think part of why, especially as women, sex becomes this big thing. We almost like make it this kind of like intimidating, scary being. And it's like, okay, and when my partner and I, we're having intimacy issues and, and then we create this story of discomfort and fear and worry and anxiety and stress around it. So then by the time we get to the scenario where we could have the erotic play date, we're in fight or flight. We're already anxious. And then for me personally, and I'm sure so many of our listeners, I can't get to that place. Once I'm there, I can't get myself down to the place where I can just relax and feel
Mm-hmm.
safe with my partner
Mm-hmm.
so that then I can be excited to go on an exploratory journey with him. I think so many of us just go right into fight or flight. We're like, oh my God, am I doing this right? And I don't know where to go. And what is this? And does that feel good? I don't know. And we just get all up in our heads.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the practices that I really recommend if you're lucky enough to have a partner, and you
Yeah.
can also do this with yourself, which is really
Yes.
nice, is yoni massage.
Ugh. I've always wondered about yoni massage. Tell me more.
Okay. So yoni is the word that tantric love makers use for the entire female genital system. So we think about, a lot of people say the word vagina to mean that, but the vagina is really just the little pocket, and it's just one part of the system. And then some people will say vulva, but it sounds kind of medically.
It does.
And I don't love it. It's not a pleasurable word in the grand scheme
Yeah,
of things.
it's not.
So yoni, it's kind of like my little yoni. It sounds sparkly and pony
It
and rainbow.
does.
It sounds fun.
Sounds cute.
And what it also means is something that is reverential. It's not just the internal
Mhm.
and external tissue structures. It is the mind-body connection. It is the connection to source. It is the connection to partner, to self, to love. It has a timeless, loving, meaningful, reverential quality to the word. And some women also like the word flower,
Yeah.
which is another nice word for the genital structure, because she blossoms
She
under
does.
loving care. And what you want to think about, I think about her as a lotus unfolding.
I love
And
that.
what I like about that lotus unfolding is that she's opening. And for many women, when they try to achieve an orgasm, they crunch down tight.
Yes.
They hold their breath. They try to
Yes.
focus
Force.
attention, or they think, oh, I'm too loose, or my vagina is too big. I need to make it tight.
Yes. And
so
they
it'll
start,
feel good to him.
and then again, we're contracting, we're squeezing. Yes.
Yes.
Tensing.
And so it's breathing into your yoni. It's opening your heart. It's opening your eyes to your lover. It's sex is sensual. It's connecting your bodies. It's feeling sensation. Sex is a mindfulness practice. It's bringing yourself back out of the world and into heart space with your lover or yourself. It's letting go of all of those things and bringing yourself back, bringing yourself back, bringing yourself back until you are able to stay in and sustain the feelings, the big feelings of pleasurable sensation. It's a practice. So yoni massage is pleasuring from the outside in to get that teardrop of erectile tissue from flaccid to full, to erect, to engorged with blood flow. So relaxation, heart connection, kissing, breast and nipple play, full body touch, holding and being held, generating oxytocin, bringing your mind back, opening yourself to pleasure, and learning to stay in it is the way to go. And manual genital massage, rubbing a yoni rub, right? A yoni massage. That's fantastic with some lovely oil. But it can be helped by tools. Now, I use a regular toothbrush. I use a bamboo toothbrush, but I also use an electric toothbrush.
Amen,
because
sister.
I like
Me
my
too.
oral microbiome a lot. I also use an oral irrigator. I also floss. I also use those little trees sometimes.
Yes. You're my woman. Yes.
So, like, how many things am I doing for my teeth?
Yeah.
What am I doing for my yoni? Well,
Yeah.
this is where, and if you're listening to the podcast now, I am holding up two little toys in my hands, like I'm like the bandolier kitty cat ready to give somebody a yoni massage.
That's exactly what you look like. And also, they're really beautiful.
Yeah. These are vulva massagers. They are a
Vulva
category of
massagers.
pleasure tools. This one on the left, and these are going to be linked at drivedesire.com.
Good.
So
And they'll be in the show notes because I'll be the first. I'll be clicking that link right afterward.
yes, you're going to get these by Christmas, I think, right, Elizabeth?
That's what I was hoping.
Me too. This is what I'm doing for Christmas. Are you kidding me?
I was just thinking.
It's so funny because, I'm like everybody's mom. I'm like everybody's cool mom, really. And all my girlfriends that are in their 30s and their 40s, and their 50s and their 60s, they're calling me up and they're like, "What are you guys doing for Christmas? Can I come over? I'm not busy this Christmas. I'd love to spend it with you guys." And I almost always have everybody over for Christmas, and we play music and we have a great time, and I feed them like kings and queens, and I wine them and I dine them and all this stuff. And this year I was like, "I love you dearly, and I am just going to be in pleasure and quiet and aloneness, and I will see you after Christmas."
That sounds
And
like my kind of holiday.
these are on my bedstand. So lots and lots of yoni massage. And by the way, there's also
Yes.
lingam massage.
Lingam
So
massage.
don't worry, we're not leaving the
Okay.
penis out. The lingam is the word for the male staff. So his penis is his lingam. And I like that word too. It sounds
I do
luscious.
too. It does.
You want to lap it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds very sophisticated and classy too, I feel.
I like a classy
Lingam.
word for my genital structures.
I like classy too.
So there's two vibrators I'm holding in my hand. The one in my left hand is green, and it uses a technology called the pulse plate technology. It's called the Queen. And it has this vibration, which, by the way, feels really nice on lingams as well.
Okay.
And you can always do a blended pleasuring lingam massage using a tool with your mouth and hands. And that's you don't have to do everything yourself. You can use tools. And what I like about this pulse plate technology is that it actually doesn't stimulate the skin of the vulva. It stimulates down into the erectile tissue to draw the blood and plump up the tissue. So you get more sensation. So you get more orgasmic intensity. And it brings all that blood in so that by the time you have intercourse, everything's plump and intercourse is orgasmic.
Ugh.
The reason you haven't had an orgasm from intercourse, if you haven't, is that you've never gotten that surround sound erectile tissue all ready to go so that sex feels good, intercourse feels good. The second tool that I'm going to show you, it's literally called Vibe. So I have to put the link because it's impossible to find. They gave it a dumb name, but what I like about this is I'm a highly sensitive person, an HSP.
Me too.
Literally, I just got this adorable little black top that I'm wearing for you today, and I had to cut the tags out. Like, I can't have scratchy.
I'm like that. Same.
I don't like sounds. I don't
Same.
like any of that stuff. And I think there are a lot of us out there. Anybody neurodivergent, anybody HSP, we don't like noisy toysies. Now, the Queen is not noisy. But if you want like totally silent stealth toy, like your kids are in the next room stealth toy, the Vibe is the way to go. And it's not quite as strong. So also for those of you who are like, I just want the lightest of sensation, which, by the way, you're ahead of the people who need strong sensation. You're more likely to be able to have more variety of orgasms faster if you're sensitive. Because the people who have to drive themselves really hard to get an orgasm, they tend to blow the circuits, and then they have to have a longer refractory period. So it takes them longer to learn how to have multiple orgasms, expanded orgasms, extended orgasms, all of the different kinds of sensations that you can have. But this is really nice if you need total quiet. And so, or you want a very light touch, and they're both wonderful. So drivedesire.com is where the links are for the vulva massagers. And the other things I recommend, like the Atom Plus, which is a double vibrating penis ring. So another part of when you go to the orgasmic intercourse page, one of the things that you're going to see is a technique called feline grind.
Feline grind.
Feline grind. And there are two basic types of intercourse strokes. One is a slide, up and down, and one is a grind where you're all the way down and everything's completely inside you. He's completely inside you.
Yes.
And they're both orgasmic, and it's good to toggle them. You want to
Wow.
toggle. I'm nerding out with you, Elizabeth, because you want to toggle your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems
Yes.
by alternating sensations. And so what's nice is when she's on top and she can control the movements, she can slide and she can grind. And when you're using this penis ring, especially if your guy needs a little more sensation, like he's had some
Yeah.
sensation loss in his older age and he doesn't climax as easily, he
Yeah.
gets a little perineal vibration, which also helps him with stamina because he's learning to feel sensation up in his prostate and perineal area rather than just focusing on the tip or the glands of his penis, which is what makes him makes him ejaculate too quickly. So this
Amazing.
spreads the energy, so it helps him with stamina.
Oh,
And she can apply herself to the vibrator for her that's on the top. And penis and his testicles go through the ring. So everything's through the ring, and that also increases some lovely sensation for him. So this is a really nice product for coupled
wow.
partner play where she can practice giving herself orgasms on his penis. And it's only a learned skill, and it's one of my favorites. So
Wow.
the only thing you have to think about is that you want to take a lot of collagen, silica,
Okay.
zinc, copper, omega fatty acids, possibly some hyaluronic acid, and some glucosamine chondroitin, because you've got joints when you're on top, you've got your knees. So you want to keep your knees really fluid. The more you do it, the more fluid they're going to get. They get stiff without use. But when you get them all nice and lubricated from the inside with all the things I just mentioned, you move, you're fluid, you're back to fluid
Yes.
again with a little practice. So, maybe you can do it for a minute or two to start and then you switch positions, but switching positions is variety. It's novelty. It creates more excitement. So don't worry about that either. There's one more little dumb thing that I think people get wrong about sex
Tell
because
us.
they're so like, I've got to get to intercourse. That's
Yes.
what sex is.
It's the hyper focus always. Got to get there. And if I don't get there, I'm a failure.
I've failed.
Yes.
Exactly. And guys are afraid, well, I've got a hard on, so we've got to do it. But
Yes.
guys can get hard, go soft, get hard, go soft, get hard, go soft. And the more they do that, the more they learn that, the more comfortable they get, the less anxious they get, the more they can relax, the less performance anxiety they have, the longer they can last, the more calm she is, the more orgasm she has. So take breaks.
This is
Just
so helpful.
have a hug. Maybe do a yoni massage. Lie down beside each other and hold each other again. Decide what sounds nice next.
Yeah.
And then rest again. Decide what sounds next and rest again. Take a languid, loving approach because you want to have sex for the rest of your life. You want to live till you're 100. You want to be healthy the whole time, and you want to have orgasms till the day you die. That's how you do it. Pacing yourself and relaxation is a big part of what good sex looks like. Great sex looks like.
This is incredible, Susan. I feel like I'm going to be digesting everything you're sharing with us today for such a long time. You
Good.
mentioned something, sex span. So
Yeah.
can you explain for our listeners? We hear about health span and lifespan all of the time, but we don't.
Mhm.
And I feel like what you were just referring to and explaining to me sounds like what I would imagine sex span to be like. Can you explain, is that what you mean by that? That we want to, be having sex for the rest of our lives? It's not this thing that we get to a certain age and we're like, oh, well, that's all. I'm 60 or I'm 75 and, I've had all the sex. So it is what it is.
Yeah, that's a limiting belief. Your best
It
sex
is.
is ahead of you. I'm 63 and having the best sex of my life.
You don't look even close. You're
That's because I have
lying.
good sex.
And it's so true. And on this show, that's what we're always wanting to know about is how can we have optimal longevity, not just longevity, right? Because there are a
Right.
lot of people who
Health
have
span.
longevity, but are sitting around having a very poor quality of life. We
Mhm.
want an optimal quality of life for as long as possible. And sex and intimacy, as you're teaching us, isn't just something that we can do as we age. It's something that we get to do, that we should do, that we always have the ability to do. Age has nothing to do with our sexual capacities and
Well,
abilities.
it has something to do with it. It means we get better.
Yes.
Just like as we feel the wisdom in our 50s and
Yeah.
60s and 70s and 80s, we're wise.
Yeah.
We're also accomplished. We have a lot of mastery. I mean, my cooking's never been better,
I
right?
love
My
this.
sex has never been better.
Yeah.
Most of the things in my life have never been better because I have mitochondrial energy. I work out. I have an aura ring. I get good sleep. I cook my own food and eat nutrition, and I have a great sex life. Like, that's what it is. So I think we
Yeah.
answered you already answered what is sex span. That's what it
Yeah.
is. Sex span extends your health span. But what I think we've talked about today is not just why sex is good for you, and it's
Right.
not the should, it's okay, how do I have it? And that's what I gave you today was
Exactly.
what does that look like? I've given you an entire reframe on what your sex life could look like, hopefully to whet your appetite to have your partner listen to this segment so you guys can work up your sex life bucket list, your plan, what things you want to learn. And that's the last link I'll leave you with, Elizabeth, which is sexlifebucketlist.com. Because now that you know that what you want is not scheduled sex, you want to have erotic play dates to look forward to.
Yes. Yes.
What's going to be on your bucket list? That link will give you a downloadable PDF with 48 erotic play dates. And I give you a video. It's like a couples workshop. It's a singles workshop too. You can do at least half of them solo pleasuring.
I love this.
And I walk you through all the 48, and you're like, wow, I never even heard of that. Oh, that's something I've always wanted to do. You mark them A, B, or C. A is definitely going on my bucket list. B is if it's on your bucket list, I'm game. And C is it's not for me right now, but as I mature sexually and become even more confident and orgasmic, etc., maybe that'll end up on my bucket list one of
That's
these
right.
days.
That's right.
So
We've
I
all
think we've given so much here.
we have given
And
so
there's so
much.
much. I mean, I could talk to you for weeks straight.
And we hope you'll come back
So
many,
I would
many, many
love to come
times,
back
Susan.
because you and
Really.
I are really so aligned in
We're
our
so
values,
aligned.
our approaches, our nerdy
Everything.
science girl ways.
Everything.
So I
Truly.
thoroughly enjoyed this time with you and I really
I did
felt
too,
seen and
Susan.
appreciated. So thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
having me in your world.
I really appreciate it. And on behalf of myself, all of our guests, and just everyone in the universe who benefits from you, your expansion, and all that you do. Thank you so, so much. And like we've said all along throughout the episode, everyone, all of the links, everything Susan mentioned, you'll find conveniently in our show notes for this episode. And Susan, is there any place else if anyone wants to find you, stay connected, get support, ask a question, where would you send everybody? What are the best places to stay connected with you?
Got about 200 videos that I've shot on everything I've talked about and more at betterlover.com, all for free. You can get on my newsletter there as well. And again, reply to any email you get from me.
Awesome.
And you can follow me on Instagram by my name, Susan Bratton. Smoosh it all together, one word, SUSAN BRATTON.
Everybody, please go follow Susan. She's amazing. And this will be the first of many, many visits that she has with us on this show. Susan, thank you so much for everything. I hope you can feel all the love and
I do.
gratitude that I'm just beaming over to you right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Wow. I hope that you enjoyed that episode as much as Susan and I did. And I'm sure that, like me, you are going to be integrating and digesting all of the incredible knowledge, tools, tips, tricks, resources that she just poured into that episode for us. Please reach out and let me know what you'd like Susan to come back and talk about next. We are so grateful for her support on our sexual and intimate health, such an important facet of our multi-dimensional health and well-being. And it is such an honor to be here to support you all and to continue to guide all of us on this journey to create higher health, mind, body, and spirit. And as this year comes to a close, I just want to send a special beam of very intentional love and gratitude out to every single one of you. Thank you for being here. I hope that you can feel the love, the gratitude, and the heartfelt positive energy that I've infused into this and each and every single episode of this Higher Health podcast. Please remember that the world needs your light. Trust yourself and your heart. And the way to do that is by staying connected to yourself, mind, body, and spirit, and to source. Thank you so much for listening to Higher Health with Dr. Elizabeth Rogers. If you enjoyed the show today, it would mean so very much to me if you subscribe to the show and leave an honest, positive review. You can easily subscribe by going to the upper right-hand corner of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and press the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner. Also, be sure to sign up for my email list and join my private Substack community to get even more content, value, and support on your health and well-being journey. You'll find these links in the show notes. Sending you so much positive and supportive energy today. I really hope you can feel it.